Hey everybody, Mr. Hayes here, Hayes' World of Math. Like, subscribe, comment, and all that other good stuff. We're talking learning cards here. We're talking solving radical equations. I've zoomed in here a little bit primarily so I can talk about strategy and do the example at the same time. So we're going to jump into that and then maybe summarize some overviews towards the end. Remember, the first thing that we talked about here is we're going to isolate a radical. Now, sometimes, and again, the basic one, the first one we have up here, we have a single radical, so you're going to isolate that. If you have more than one radical, pick one. Whichever one feels right is fine. There is no wrong answers. So first of all, we're going to isolate this. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract this off. So I'm going to get the square root of x minus 1 is equal to x minus 7. So after I do that, we're going to square entire sides. Now that is important to remember, because what ends up happening if you don't is that people will going to just square individual parts, and that's not how it works. If you square an entire side, if you square both, well, when you're solving, if you're going to square both sides, you square both sides. Okay, so that's including the binomial. So this is going to turn into x minus 1, because when you square a square root, by definition, it's whatever's on the inside. Don't try to get fancy with that side. Over here, you may find it useful to write these out side by side. Now again, given the fact that this is an honors class, I would hope, and I want you guys to be at the end of this, be able to say, okay, the shortcut is I'm going to square the first. It is going to be double the product of the two parts inside the binomial, and I'm going to get that at the end. It just makes life faster and easier. But if you continually make a mistake of just writing down x squared minus 49 or x squared plus 49, at that point, write it out. And then 3, you're going to repeat if necessary. In this case, we don't. And then 4, solve it. So we're going to do that. I'm going to move everything onto one side. X squared minus 15x plus 50. Oops. Oh, that's going to be easy to solve because 5 and 10. So then, got the room, might as well use it. So then x is going to end up equaling either 5 or 10. Now we do need to check the answers here, because what ends up happening, and I'll show you here kind of in a graph here in a second. And always do it in the originals. Pretty sure I did this yesterday quickly, but let's just talk about it. You don't need to copy this down. If I have a square root and it's equal to a binomial, the graph of this, I've got a square root like this, shifted over 4. I have a line here. It's going like that. Okay? It's going to intersect at one point. Now, when I square these, this is going to become x plus 4. That root has now turned into a line, and over here, this is now a parabola. Okay? So now, the left-hand side, instead of being a square root, is a straight line, and the second part now is a parabola. And what ends up happening is oftentimes we will get a phantom answer that gets shown up. So you'll get 2 answers out of the secondary in the process of solving it, when in reality we really only have just one. So to go back and check these again, I'm just going to go back to the original, and is 5 minus 1 plus 4 equal to the same thing as 5 minus 3. Well, this is going to turn into 2 plus 4. That is not equal to 2. So 5 doesn't work. If I do 10, I'm going to get square root of 9 plus 4. And then 10, is that equal to 10 minus 3? So again, that's going to be 3 plus 4. And that is equal to 7. So we're good there. So that's going to be my answer. But that's why you have to double check it, because you're kind of creating these echoes, phantoms, however you want to call it. All right, so that's the first one. In terms of over here, always check your answers to see if they are valid and not. Do we say phantom or echo? Let's say an echo. When squaring a binomial, write it out twice. So again, if I have x plus 3 squared, it's helpful to do this. Let's take a look at the second one. Now remember, the second one is, we're going to go through this, and we got a kind of a, so we're going to isolate a radical. If you have two radicals on one side, I'm going to move one onto the other side. Okay? You also oftentimes get rid of negatives. I will generally move whichever one is the subtraction if there is one. So now we're going to square both sides, and when I square both sides, you're doing the entire side. This turns into 7x minus 3 equals, now again, if it's helpful, please write this out. So you're going to get a middle term. That's going to become 9 plus 6 square root of x plus x. Now again, remember back up over here, we had this statement up over here. It says repeat if necessary. Okay, so we isolated one of the roots, we squared both sides, and now we went from 2 radicals to 1. So now we're going to go through and do it again. You're just going to keep going until the radicals are gone. And by the way, if you wanted to back up here, I could square both sides without isolating it. It just gets really messy, so that's why I recommend this. So I'm going to subtract x, subtract 9. And again, just don't go so fast that you're making dumb mistakes. At this point here, you can square both sides. If it looks like you can go ahead and simplify it easily without any fractions, I would do that. So I'm going to get x minus 2 is equal to root x. Now at this point, square it again. Square this side. Square this side. So now I'm going to get x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to x. And now it's just like Algebra 1. So all we have to do now is just check your answers. And I may have to erase something. So, check my answers up here. X equals 1. So that's going to be the square root of 7 minus 3, which is 4, minus the square root of 1. Is that equal to 3? No, so that doesn't work. And then the other one, x equals 4. And so that's going to be what, 28 minus 3, so that's going to be the square root of 25 minus the square root of 4. Does that equal 3? Yeah, 5 minus 2 equals 3. Check. So that's your answer. So obviously rewind as much as you want. Other things that if you need to catch it, and I think that's about it. Catch you later. Talk to you soon.